Hi everyone, my name is Paul. So before I took possession of this car, like many of you, I looked at many of the reviews that were on the web, on YouTube, for the Mercedes-Benz 2023 S Class. So there was the S-500 and the S-580. So all the reviews that I saw were basically people who borrowed the car from a dealer or tried it out for a week or two and gave their point of view on it. The differences in the review I'm going to provide to you today is I've owned this car for over 11 months. So I can give you an honest and authentic review on this car as an ownership point of view versus somebody who just bought it for a week or two. And many of the reviews that I saw, people weren't necessarily clear on the features and benefits of this car and may have been missing the point of this car altogether. So the S Class, yes, it's a luxury car. Yes, it's very comfortable. But in comparison to other cars, I would say it's understated. It's more of a, less of a bling bling sort of a car. So the choices are you can get a Bentley, which makes quite a statement when you arrive somewhere, where the S Class is a little more subdued, more business-like, which is what I was looking for. So today I'll go through some of the features and benefits that I found in this car that I liked, some of the benefits and features I didn't like, and some of it which didn't make sense to me and why it's on this car to start with. So I just want to give you a quick review, a little bit of where I come from on this product, because I've been an owner of Mercedes-Benz products for over 15 years. So I just want to give you a little bit of background, so later as we move forward you'll have an idea where I'm coming from with some of my comments. So I started out with the 2009 CLS 550, which I really enjoyed that car. It was a beautiful car. Then moved on to the 2012 CLS 550 because it's all-wheel drive. And here in Quebec, Canada, snow is a big issue for us 6 months out of the year, so all-wheel drive is a big benefit. Then when that car came up to an end, then basically I went to my salesman, and of course he taunted me with the CLS 63S AMG. That was a fun car. I mean, really enjoyed that one. And in 2017 I took a CLS 63S again, so that was also a great car. So I enjoyed all the CLS. And then as time moved on in 2020, my needs changed and I went for an S Class. So that was the S560, again with a V8. So all these cars had V8 so far. And enjoyed that car. It was a short wheelbase versus the long wheelbase. The benefit for me was it's a little short of a car and it really filled all the needs that I had as far as that car was, and the comfort and the ride and the space as such. So that came to an end, and then I moved on to the new S Class. So I got to a point where I had to make a decision which way I wanted to go. So I went with this S Class. The difference is in 2023 at least, and it is same now 2024 and going forward, is there are two choices of powertrains. So there's the S500, which is an inline six, and then there's the S580, which is the V8. So I'll speak about that a little later and give you some more information on my point of view of those two powertrains. So all in all, it really is a fabulous car. It really is excellent as far as road comfort and so on and so forth. The one myth that I wanted to clear up is some people I saw on the internet make the statement of, yeah, it's a big car, it's a limousine, it's for people who want to be chauffeured. I just want to clear that up with you. So it's not necessarily just that. People who actually own this, of course there are people who buy them and want to be chauffeured. Yes, the car can be equipped as such. But I would say in my view that a lot of people take this car simply because the ride quality is excellent and you have the room for other adults. And I'm not an SUV person because you can get a GLS, which is basically the same platform, lots of space, lots of seating. But an SUV for me is just never that type of vehicle that I was, my flavor sort of thing. So the S Class came in again as my choice of vehicle. And the S Class itself, besides the fact that it's very comfortable, has a lot of features and benefits and the comfort in it. So let's go through those features and benefits one by one, and some of the options that I chose that I liked and some that I regretted, and some I wish were just better addressed from Mercedes-Benz to start with. So let's go through that one by one. We'll start with this. One of the myths I want to clear up is the one about this being a limousine. A lot of the reviewers looked at this car and said, it's great, you know, it's a limousine, you can put your feet up in the back and you have a chauffeur, that's what this car is for. No, it isn't. A lot of people, I would argue, is they buy this car for the convenience and the comfort of getting to the destination and they don't feel tired. A perfect example is a good friend of mine. He takes his similar car that he has, an S Class, and when he goes to Toronto, which is basically 600 kilometers from here around Montreal, and he gets there and he's had a great day on the road. He's taken some calls, he's done some work over the phone, and it's fine for him. You can't get him to take a flight if you gave him $1 million. He hates flying, he doesn't want to take a flight, and if he has a choice and he's going anywhere in Canada or the US, he'd prefer driving there. So the comfort that this car offers is a big benefit for that. The other angle is people say, well, what do you need all that room for? Well, the room isn't always because you're alone. I'll give you another example. He travels from, let's say, Montreal and goes to the Upper Laurentians, and often he'll bring either his parents or his grandparents to the weekend home. Well, you know, chances are his parents, if my friend is in his 50s, so his parents obviously are in the 70s and older. So he wants to bring them up there comfortably. And one of them has a walker and it's not easy, so he brings them, he sits them in the back, and no need to tell you, they're very comfortable. And they don't have the step up of an SUV. So basically, you know, they can just back into the door and with the walker and they can get into the car and they're very comfortable. So those are some of the features inside in the back seat that I'm going to show you. So the point I want to make is this myth about this just for a limousine, for service, and for big high-end executives and lawyers who want to be chauffeured around. That's not necessarily the case. A lot of people buy this car simply for the comfort and convenience that it offers. So let's look at some other features together. So let's talk about the powertrain for 2 minutes. So first of all, this car is all-wheel drive to start with. They're all, either the S-500 or the S-580 is all-wheel drive. So these two powertrains, what's the big difference between the two of them? Well, because I've had V8 engines before, I can give you an honest review. So the V8 itself are great engines, can't take that away. The benefits of this engine is that people seem to underestimate the 6-cylinder. They seem to take it as a second choice. The truth is, this is the engine that's in the E53 AMG. So if you've seen this car on the road or you've heard all good things about it, it's the same engine. It's 429 horsepower and it goes. I mean, people seem to think because it's a 6-cylinder, it doesn't go. It's a whole new technology in engine. One of the key differences, or some of the differences there are in this new 6-cylinder engine, is it's turbocharged, but it's also electrified supercharged. So in other words, there's no delay whatsoever in response when you accelerate with this car. The other big benefit that you have from this engine is the fact that it's much more fuel economy. Now, I know some people say, yeah, but you know, if you buy a car at that price range, what do you care about, you know, the price of gas? Well, the truth is, we all care about the price of gas, no matter what the price is. You know, when it hits $5 US, I know everybody freaks out, which, you know, is understandable. But it's not just about the fuel economy itself. It's the fact that you don't have to refill as often. So I don't need to go to Costco to refill as often with this engine than I would with the V8 engine. So that's a big benefit. If you're going long distances and you know that fuel or refills in certain areas is challenging, let's say in the evening, whatever, you can do 800 kilometers with this. Chances are you're going to get to your destination before you fill up a second time. So that's a huge benefit. The other benefit of this engine is it's extremely quiet, extremely smooth. And some people will say to you, well, how smooth is it? Well, let me give you an example. When you get to a red light, you need to look at a tachometer needle to know that the engine is running. It's that quiet. And stop-start, you really don't feel it. So it's very smooth, very quiet. It's the newest technology, and it's very fuel efficient. Some things some people may think is, well, if it's got a turbo and a supercharger, it's complicated, it's going to be a headache down the road for repairs. Actually, no, because what people don't know is that this engine doesn't have the alternator and the water pump on the front with a pulley as you're used to knowing. It's actually built into the engine. So there is no maintenance for the straps or the pulleys or whatever the case may be. So it's not that they've added more complicated technology. Actually, they've replaced it with something else which is more modern and more efficient. So the engine itself is more efficient, fuel efficient, and very, very smooth. It's still 429 horsepower, and it really, really goes. I mean, that's in comfort mode. You put this in Sport or Sport Plus, you're going to find it's got a devilish side to it. This thing really, really goes. So there's no disappointment with the engine. So people say to me, so what do you find the difference between the 6-cylinder you have now and the V8s that you had before? Because I've had quite a few of them. To be honest with you, I would say the comparison is this, is if you're driving the V8 engine and you have 4 passengers, luggage in the trunk, you're going down a 2-lane highway and you want to pass, it goes, the V8 goes. The 6-cylinder, I would say, is identical. So where's the main difference? The main difference, I would say to you, is if you're driving the 6-cylinder down the highway and you're far exceeding the speed limit, and you decide to hard accelerate it to even go faster, it may not have the legs and the pull that you would get from the V8. But that's only if you're going way over the speed limit to start with. But anything that goes from 0 to 60 or even 60 to 80, it's not a problem. You're not going to have any issues with that whatsoever. It's just a question of having a V8 engine. Used to be the ideal technology, and today it isn't anymore. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is if you're going to buy this car and you're going to keep it for, let's say, 4 or 5 years, I'm just guessing, but the resale value of this 6-cylinder being more fuel efficient will probably give you a better resale value than a big gas guzzling V8, because we know that gas isn't going to go down in price, it's just going to go up. So let's talk about another point here about the ride quality. So yes, the S Class is known for its ride quality. It's exceptional. I mean, by far anything else I've driven doesn't ride like this. I mean, the big benefits in the ride quality on this car is if you're riding, for example, on the highway, if you get dips in the road, it's a bit of a floater. It's great. But the amazing part is if you're taking those exits and you're going somewhat faster than you should, it just takes those corners really flat. I mean, I've had some Subarus behind me who, you know, aren't taking the curve like I am with this thing, and it's a heavy car. So, I mean, it outhandles a lot of other cars, I would tell you, although of its weight. It's really impressive. Let's talk about ride quality for a minute. So this car, I mean, is exceptional as far as road handling and as far as comfort is concerned. I mean, when you're driving on the road, you barely feel any of the bumps or anything that you've had compared to any other car. But one of the key features I found, things that you can improve on this car, if your car comes in your country where it's delivered, US, Canada, whatever, and it comes with run flats, you really want to improve the ride on this car by at least 30%, just put some regular radial tires on it. In my case, I chose the Continentals because they're 4-season and they're for what I wanted. They checked off every box that I wanted. But you go with the Michelin, the Pirelli, whatever you want, but get rid of the run flats. I'm telling you, it's at least 30% ride quality increase when you get rid of those run flats. So why do they put them on the car? Well, it's probably got to do with wanting to get rid of the spare in the trunk, because you're not going to have a spare in the trunk. So the question is, well, what do you do if you get stuck somewhere? Well, I call 1-800-Mercedes and come and get me out of this trouble. But if, you know, if you're a person who travels on long roads in the middle of nowhere, then, you know, you may want to reconsider that idea. But I'm just saying to you, getting rid of the run flats on this car, huge improvement right out of the gate. For those who are curious, these are not Mercedes wheels. And why did I put aftermarket wheels on this car? Well, basically in the province that I live in, there's potholes and there's craters here. So when you scrap one of those original mag wheels from Mercedes-Benz, here it's about $2,000 each. I can get a set of 4 of these for $2,000. So truthfully is, I'd rather run on these aftermarkets, and if I hit a big pothole, and I know I can get them repaired, of course, but sometimes they get beyond a point of repair because you've had them repaired 3 or 4 times, it's not as expensive to replace one of these. So something you may want to consider. Another thought, I have a friend of mine who has a Mercedes, does something similar, where he takes the original wheels from Mercedes, puts his winter tires on them, and puts aftermarkets with summer tires for his summer needs. That's another angle that you can take a look at, because definitely the aftermarkets are much less expensive than what the Mercedes replacement wheels are. Here's an option that I want to talk to you about, which I missed out on. On this car, you can get rear wheel steer. There's, in Canada, they make it as 2 options. They make it either, I believe, in about maybe 3 or 4 degrees, and then there's like 10 degrees that you can get as an option. Well, because I took a car that was off the lot, I didn't have the option to choose, but I regret that. Why? Well, this car is quite long. I mean, the length of this car is just about the length of an F-150 Ford pickup. So when you come to, again, I'll take the example of a Costco. When you come to park, you can stretch it as much as you want, then go into the bay that you want to park, into the parking lot. But often you end up that you're still slightly crooked. So often you sort of have to back up a little bit and get yourself straight into the spot. I find that a bit of a nuisance in the sense that the rear wheel steer will get rid of that complication. I mean, when you come to a parking lot, I've seen one in parking in action, and basically you just drive up, even if you're in the middle of the aisle, and then you just turn. I mean, the whole back end just moves over and you park into your bay, and you don't have to do it 3 or 4 times to get it right. So then what's the difference between the two? Why not take the maximum? Well, it has to do with the wheel size that you choose for your car. You got to be careful, because if you take the 10 degree, for example, the wheels in the back have to be exactly the same size as the ones in the front. If you take the one that's around 2 or 3 degree turning, then you can still have wider tires or wider wheels in the back and narrower ones in the front. So if you like the staggered look, then you got to choose the less turn degree angle that you can get. But still, it's still a big benefit. Like I said, I've seen one in action, huge difference. So consider that if that is an option that you can get on the car, take the option of the rear wheel steer. On this car, by its length, big benefit, really to consider. Let's take a minute and talk about this front lens camera. So on the S560 that I had in 2020, it had like a trap door in front of it, which I thought was great because, you know, well, keep in mind we're in Canada, so all the slush and salt and dirt and everything would go on the lens if it didn't have that door. So my thinking was, well, that's brilliant, because now that door will prevent it from getting dirty, so when I park I can see well. Well, when I saw this new model, the 2023, I said to myself, so where did they put the door? It's not there anymore. That's inconvenient. I mean, this is going to get dirty and it's going to be a real problem. Actually, they seem to resolve that. This lens is actually self-heating, so for the snow actually melts. I mean, I've been driving on highways in the winter and there's snow in the front of the car, except here it's all melted, so it still sees very well. And as far as the dirt and the salt, I don't know how they do it, but it doesn't affect the visibility. So when you park up to something or you drive and the cameras come on, you see maybe 20% less better than you would if it was absolutely clean, but it's not a huge thing. It's not an issue. So I don't know how they did it, but they did it. So you don't need the mechanical door, which means something less to break, but on the other hand, it does the job, and it does it really well. I want to talk to you about something that annoys me a little bit from Mercedes-Benz, and I'm surprised that they didn't resolve this, or at least somehow they missed it. What happens is this car has sensors in the front. So when you move up to, let's say, a sidewalk or something, it's going to beep in the car. The thing is that it's designed that if the object is, let's say, 3 feet away, 2.5 feet away, so it'll beep. But what I found is if you get closer to it, it just stops beeping and you have no idea how close you are anymore. So it seems that it's just scanning at a certain height, but it's not scanning at a certain distance. So I went to the dealer, had them check it up and down. They checked everything, all the software, and they say to me, no, that's the way it's designed. It's not going to get better. That's the way it is. So I'll just show you this video that I brought to the dealer. I did an example with some boxes because obviously I didn't want to scrape this on a sidewalk. So you'll see in this video in a moment where I pull up to some boxes in the garage, and I have a camera inside, and you'll see what the action does. So take a look. So one feature I want to talk to you about is the soft close doors that they call. So two things. One is there's the fact that the handle is recessed inside, and then the fact that the door is a soft close. In other words, you just lean it and it continues closing by its own. So the upside to the handle is that it's nice and flush. It looks good in the design. The downside that I found is they say if you pull up to it, the handle is supposed to come out. Well, I want you to know that I'm next to the car and it's not coming out. Now, often it does, but sometimes it doesn't. So people say, well, that's easy. You just got to slide your hand on it. That's all very nice. But here in Canada, when you're in January, it's -40. The roads are absolutely filthy of salt and everything. It's sprayed all over the car. You're telling me I'm supposed to slide my clean hand on the door handle, in other words, wiping it clean so I can get into the car? That's not what I call a nice benefit. Some people say you just push in the middle. Yeah. Oh, now it does. So -40 and I'm doing this, right? Not a good design. Not too crazy about that. I think it's a software related, not a hardware, but not one of my key features. The other thing I want to show you is the soft close door. So the beauty is you open the door and you close it, you just lean it and it continues closing on its own. Great feature. What a lot of people don't know is it's not just soft close, but it's also soft open. Well, what do you mean? Well, some people, when they get into my car, they struggle and they pull on it and they go, man, it's hard to open the door. Yeah, that's one way of doing it, but do it the right way. In other words, just pull on it just a little bit and it'll unlock and then you'll be able to open it. So it's soft close, but it's also soft open. So again, to open it, just pull a little bit and it opens up. So it's not a complicated thing to do. Once you do it once, you'll get the hang of it. Because at the beginning, I thought it was pretty hard to pull. And then I learned how to do it. Let's talk about another feature in this trunk that I find that's missing. Oddly enough, it's a huge trunk. I love it. I mean, if you take the one that's a plug-in, you're going to lose a lot of the trunk space because the floor is higher. But in this case, the floor space is really, really good. So I'm happy with that. I can fit golf clubs. You can fit anything. 4 adults, luggage, no problem. The back seat doesn't fold down. There's a pass-through where you can pass, let's say, something like a 2x4 or something. But the seats don't fold down. So I find that annoying. And I'll explain when I'm inside why that is. It's simply because the seats in the back are reclining. So I guess that causes an issue. But unfortunately, I find that a big downside to this car, is the fact that you can't have the back seat to fold down whatsoever. So if you're going shopping with the missus or with the mister and you find something that you really want to buy, for example, a big frame, big picture frame, you might have issues fitting into the trunk. So food for thought. I would have really liked for the back seat to be able to fold down. And by the way, it's not an option. You can't get it. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, that's what it is. One feature that I find that's missing on this car is the fact that you can program the delay of before the trunk closes. So you have a button here where you push once and it'll start closing the trunk right away. So you push on it and the trunk closes. To open it, you have a lever, or you have a kick plate where you just slip your foot under like this and it'll open by itself. So that's fine. The other button is, the difference is when you push that one, it'll do the same, but it'll lock the car. So if the last thing you're grabbing and you want to lock up the car, you just push here, it'll close the trunk, it'll lock the car. The feature that I find that's missing, that's just software that would be really nice if it had, is if you could program the delay time before it closes the trunk. The reason for it is sometimes you want to grab something in the trunk, but you got to use your 2 hands. So you'd push, and then you know that you'd have 5 or 10 seconds before the trunk closes, and you can grab what you want and walk away with it. So some people say, yeah, that's fine, but hey, just use the kick method under. Yeah, I understand that. But if you're lifting something heavy, now you got to balance on one foot and you got to kick it before, the trunk closes. It's a bit of an inconvenience. So it would be really, really nice if Mercedes would have something where you can program that button to either, let's say, a 5-second delay or 10-second delay after you push before the trunk actually closes. That'd be really nice. So now we've been on the outside of the car, we've taken a few features over there and some of the things. Let's talk about the inside of the car and the features that it has and the benefits. Some are good, some are annoying, so let's look at them one by one. So step in, take a look at this. So let's start with the inside of the car. Some of the things that I like as far as the driver's position. So the ergonomics are excellent. The seating is really, really good. Some of the things that I found on the internet they didn't talk about is, yes, you have massage in the seat, and yes, you can adjust them, and that's fine. But it goes much further than that. Actually, on the control panel, you can actually adjust the lumbar, like each side here. You can adjust this, you can adjust the lower back, you can also adjust the upper high to exactly what you want and then set it in memory and it'll stay that way. So if you're a person that has problems with the back and your back needs to be in a certain position, you can actually more or less mold the seat to the way that you want. So that's the bolsters, the whole back, extend the seat, anything you want. And like I said, it'll be a set. Once you set it in memory, it'll stay there. That's a lot more than what I had in my other cars as far as adjustment. The other ones you could adjust a little bit here, a little bit there, height and so on and so forth, great. Get a massage, fine. But this does a lot more than that. So if you're a person with back issues, you'll find it a big benefit to having this adjustments that's possible on this car. Some people on the reviews were commenting that they don't like these buttons here because the older ones you used to push and you felt like a click sort when you move them. These, they just seem like they're firm. So in other words, you push it and it barely moves and the seat is moving either up, down, or any adjustments that you want to do. What people seem to be missing is that you're going to play with this once you first get the car, right? Once you've set it, let's say after 1,000 miles or 1,500 kilometers, whatever case may be, chances are you've got it pretty well where you want. You push memory, you push one, and that's it. You can select up to 3 sort of memory positions that you want. You're not going to be playing with this forever. I mean, you're just going to do it at the beginning. After that, you're barely going to touch it. So I think Mercedes' idea was, it was not necessary for it to be in a toggle type. On the other hand, once you've set it, what else are you going to do with it? It's set, that's it. You're not going to play with this all the time. So I don't see a problem with it. The other thing is that you'll find that now the settings for the lights on the car are here, where they used to be always down here on previous Mercedes. I find this to be really a nice touch. It's really great, but it has one small disadvantage. If you're cleaning the car, you might actually nick this and turn it in a different position. So you get into the car at one point, you're driving at night or whatever, and the lights may not be what you thought they should have been for some reason, simply because this wasn't in the proper position. It would have been nice if Mercedes had this where you push down to turn it so it would lock in. So this way you don't inadvertently touch it when you're cleaning the car, or if you go to a car wash and somebody's cleaning the car, they inadvertently turn it. It'd be nice if that was like a click system of some sort. Let's talk about the air vents for a second. So some people may not know this, but the vents, there's a switch here, a button, where you have low, medium, high, and off. So you have 4 settings. So basically you can just adjust left or right, and then the ventilation force is here, is on this button. The reason I bring this to your attention is it's the same thing up here, same thing over there, same thing in the back. So sometimes people get in, they go, I've had no ventilation on this for a long time, I don't understand, it doesn't work. Actually it works. They just didn't know that this is a button because it's actually very smooth to the touch of the car. So that's another thing. Let's take a minute and talk about the 3D view that's available on this model on the driver's screen. So it's a great feature, it's wonderful if you're not a person who needs reading glasses, or if you're not a person who needs prescription glasses. The reason for it is, if you're a person who needs glasses in any case whatsoever, chances are you're not going to be able to read what's written in the text, because the text that it's at the bottom, the words, the name of the streets, is so small that you won't be able to appreciate it. And second of all is the 3D effect. It's going to be blurred for you. You're not going to be able to see it. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The second thing is, are you noticing at the top, right over the speed limit and over some of the drawings, are you seeing these red flashing lights? What that is they're sensors who actually detect your eyes so you can benefit of the 3D view. The problem is that if you're a person who has a habit of driving with their hand up on the wheel like this at the top, or you're not specifically at exactly the right 10 minutes to 10, well, that's going to be an issue, because you're going to be getting a notice or a screen warning every time telling you that you're blocking the view of those sensors and you need to move your hands. So that's going to be an issue. So this 3D view can be wonderful if your hands are always at the right place and you don't need any reading glasses. And of course, you may have sunglasses that don't have a prescription, but you wear reading glasses sometimes. Well, you're not going to be able to appreciate it when you're driving the car. So I just thought you'd be knowledgeable about this. I would have really appreciated is, as you know, as you get older, people need reading glasses. So it could be +1, +2, +3, and so on and so forth. So it would have been great if this screen, there would have been some sort of an adjustment where you could adjust the +1, +2, +3 on the screen itself. I mean, if they can make 3D possibly they can do this focus thing so we can see a little bit better. This way you can wear your favorite sunglasses. You don't need it for driving, you just want to be able to see the screen properly. So if we could adjust the focus on the screen now that it's all digital, that would be absolutely fantastic. That would be an option that I would pay for. Would I take this 3D screen knowing what I know today? Probably not. I don't think I'd spend the money on it. Let's talk about something else that I find just really strange. So this car comes with what we call the head-up display. So this box here reflects the information, and you've probably heard about it. It can be a great system, but it does have its downsides. One of the downsides that I don't quite understand is the information that's in the head-up display up here is exactly the same information as you're getting up here. So in other words, where's the benefit? Why? I mean, your eyes just need to go from here to get the information. What's the big thing? There really is no additional benefit. So to be honest with you, if somebody said to me, do you want the head-up display when I was choosing options? My answer would be, no, I don't need it. I mean, the information's already here, so what the heck do I need it for? Now, one thing I want to bring to your attention is the head-up display also does, as far as GPS guidance is concerned. You've probably heard that it'll offer all kinds of graphics, large graphics to turn and information, which is great. That's if you're using the Mercedes-Benz system of GPS. It'll give you all those big drawings, it'll give you everything on the screen. Nice. But you should know that if you're using Google, for example, you're not going to have any of those big graphics up here. As a matter of fact, you're not going to have anything on the head-up display. You're going to have to absolutely rely on the GPS information that's here, which is fine, not a problem. But the GPS is not worth for that. Again, now, if you go for the Apple software, the Apple Maps on an iPhone, you do get head-up information. Actually, it'll show up just about here, and you'll get small diagrams, small information with the Apple Maps, but you're still not going to get the huge information that they're talking about on your windshield. Another small thing I want to talk about is, as you probably noticed, they've removed the clock. There used to be, the old-fashioned clock with the needles in the car. Well, that's gone. Fine. I can live with that. They've decided to take it away as far as, design and everything, and I'm okay with that. The problem is that if you want to see the time, you're going to say, well, yeah, but you have it here, you have it here, and you have it here. So you have 3 places. True. But you have to read the numbers, where the clock was much easier to grasp at. So if you're a person who wears reading glasses again, you're looking at the time, you have to squint and not concentrate on the road because you're trying to figure out what time, if you're late for your meeting, you're on time. So I would really appreciate if Mercedes could bring back the needles, the clock. It doesn't have to be the clock itself, but it would be great if it showed up somewhere, either on the controls here, or if they had someplace here where I could just take a glance and know what time it is so I can get to my meeting on time. That would be really wonderful. Let's talk about something else that people have talked about on the web. They say this screen, it's huge, it's a problem. Truthfully, I've had many of the Mercedes products. I find this screen turned out to be an excellent idea. At first I was hesitant because my main concern was this thing with the buttons, you got to change, it's a problem. The truth is it isn't. Anything that has to do with the temperature, climate, you can just touch it here. So we'll just turn it on. And if you touch the climate menu, you get everything that's relative to the climate. But basically everything is already down here. You don't really need to search for anything. The other big benefit that you have with this car is you have the Apple CarPlay screen. Again, if you look at the size of these buttons, I mean, you're driving, how can you miss it? My originally thought was, it was going to take a lot of concentration to be using this, but it turns out that really it's very easy to use and you don't hesitate using it. So that's a big benefit. One of the disadvantages I want to talk about is the car, as you know, has comfort mode, sport mode, and sport plus. To select that, you have to touch this button here. The problem is that when you're driving, you're concentrating, chances are you don't want to start looking for the button. And because it's so smooth throughout the whole thing, you actually have to let go to your windshield, look where you're putting your finger, select the mode that you want, which then gives you a graphic, and then you can focus on your driving. I don't think that's a great idea. If you want to go from comfort to sport plus because you want to pass some cars, I find that it takes a lot of concentration because you need to push, select. So you go to here, you get this, you push again, now you get this, now you get individual. What would be great is if one button here would have been replaced with that. For example, this button. You touch this, brings you to Sport Plus mode, and then you just go. Or something similar. Or program this for the Sport Plus or Sport or whatever, or Comfort mode. It just doesn't make sense to me that we have to go through all of this. And like I said, the buttons are so smooth. You got to read. You got to actually take the time to look for it to set it up. Another annoyance that I want to talk to you that people have referred to, and I have to agree, is this volume button here. It's a major problem. I mean, in April 2024, there was an update from Mercedes-Benz where it was improved. Don't get me wrong, it's better than it was before. But the problem is that you have to slide your finger, and it's not very sensitive. So you touch it once, you get no results. You touch it twice. When you touch it, now the volume goes almost to the maximum. So you're talking with someone, so now you want to cut it down. You 2-3 times, bring it down. Then you bring it back to, you just want, a little music in the background. It's just, you keep playing with it. So you're not focusing on the road. You're not focusing on the person's conversation. You're just playing with this stupid button, which I hate. It would have been just better if it would have been, like a rocker, up, down, up, down. That would have been ideal. Come back with the volume on this one here, just so that you know, this one is fabulous. I mean, you can slide your finger for the volume, push here, push there, get the volume you want. So it's turning out that I barely use this anymore, and I just concentrate on this. But then again, you got to reach out here for it. So not one of the best things on this car is this button. I don't know if they'll improve it in the future. I certainly hope that they do. Let's talk CarPlay for 2 seconds. So the car with an iPhone, when you walk in, you start the car, it syncs up, and it syncs up. If you had it in CarPlay, it'll go into CarPlay. It really works very well. I mean, I'll turn off the car, walk out of the car, go shopping, come back into the car, and I'll get exactly the same screen that I had, and it boots up quite fast. It's very impressive, really. Now, again, it was an improvement somewhere in April 2024. Before it used to be slower, but when there was a software update over the air in the car, then the system turned out to be really, really good. So now it works well. It hooks up fine with my phone. I get results right away. If I'm in CarPlay, when I leave and I come back into the car, it'll be in CarPlay again. So, kudos for Mercedes, for the software division, for coming up with this. It really works very well. So here's something that happened to me recently, and I was a little bit surprised that that's how it works. So what happened is I brought the car to a hotel. I let them park it, and then they brought it back out. And I wanted to see on there where they've been with the car, what they did. So you can do that. Basically, you just touch the button here, you press again, it brings you a menu, you go to apps, and then you go to dash cam, and you can view the videos that have gone by. What surprised me is that, let's say I pick any of these. So let's say I pick this one here. If I want to, I can delete it. So delete video. Yes. So now the video is gone. Okay, so we'll just go back. What surprises me is that if somebody drives in my car and they don't want me to see where they've been with the car, they can basically erase the file that the car recorded because it's got a dash cam. So somehow I think we're missing the point on this somewhere at Mercedes. So how come somebody can just sit in the car and just erase any videos that they want? It's not asking for password or nothing. So you need to, you can lock the file if you want to, but you have to be in the car to do it. So I would have expected that at some point, nobody can erase anything unless you enter a password or you've got the key. Well, even then, the key is still an issue. So I'm not sure. Somehow something's missing. Here's another tidbit of information for those that didn't know. So you have a charging pad here for your phone. To be honest with you, I think it's probably like 5 watts. I've used it a few times, but I'll tell you, you can drive an hour and I don't think you're getting much of a charge on your phone. So there's some connectors here. So USB-C is the size. So you can connect that. That, from what my knowledge is, it's 10 watts. So if you're hooking that up, it's, obviously twice as fast here than here. Still not high speed. So this will bring us to our next topic. On the passenger side, there's an outlet here, which is like, we could call a cigar lighter sort of thing. So you can get an adapter, you plug it in, and of course, you're going to get high speed out of that. You can get up to about 45 watts is the one that I found, this one. So now, of course, you can connect a power cord, USB-C, and you can charge up an iPad or anything else. But here's the problem. So this brings me to the back of the car. So I'm sitting here, and in the front, as I said before, in the passenger well, you have the outlet. But here in the back, you actually have no outlet whatsoever. So behind this door here, you would think that you could connect one of these and be able to high power either a laptop or an iPad or a phone at 45 watts, because for example this one here is 45 watts. If I plug that in, I can have two items plugged at 45 watts each, but there's no outlet. So that means that I got to run an extension cord all the way to the front up here to be able to charge something back here. I don't know, this is supposed to be a luxury car for luxury in the back. I mean, you'd think that people sitting in the back would be the ones using a laptop, an iPad, or a phone, or something alike. Not necessarily somebody driving up front would be using this. I don't know, it would just seem to make sense to me that there would be an outlet out here. So some people have commented that in the back, there's no place to put a water bottle anywhere in the back. That's not true. Actually, there is. So if you go here in the center and you push once, you'll have an insert so you can stand up an iPad, a phone, or anything else that you want to use here. So you can, for example, disconnect this and you can insert it either standing up or horizontal or anything else you want. Now, what happens if you push a little bit in and you let go? Of course, you have your water bottle stand. So now you can also have your phone, your iPad standing here, and you have your water bottles. German over-engineering, of course. A comment I saw from some people, they said, the screen, I mean, it's big and you're going to get it all dirty and you're going to see all fingerprints on it. I beg to differ with that. First of all, the screen doesn't get that dirty. Second of all, it's a bit like the new technology of phones. When you touch it, it doesn't really leave any fingerprints. I'm assuming if you're eating a Big Mac and the juice is cool and is dripping all over your hands and you're licking your fingers and you touch the screen, yeah, it'll get dirty. Other than that, I've never had any issues. So does it leave fingerprints? I would say yes. To an extent, it leaves a little bit. When do you see it? When the screen is black, when it's turned off. But the moment that you have it on and you're actually watching or you're adjusting something, you don't see those fingerprint marks at all. So those comments about, it's all gonna get dirty, it doesn't get dirty. The same thing about this console here. Some people have pointed out that being glossy black is an issue. It'll get dirty, it'll get scratched. I've had this for 11 months. I've had my misses and buttons and cufflinks touch it and what have you. Never had an issue. It doesn't show any marks. There's nothing here. So again, some people point out things that they anticipate will happen, but truthfully, Mercedes has thought about all of that, and I haven't had any issues with any marks here, and any fingerprints here or fingerprints here. I touch it now and I don't see any fingerprints. I wish I could just show you better, but basically, no matter what I touch, I don't get any fingerprints. So there is no issue with the fingerprints on the glossy. I selected the lines, or I should say the car came with the lines, because that was one of my favorite finish, and when I picked the car, it had it. And I don't have fingerprints on this either. So you ask, well, you must have some marks. Yeah, so maybe when the car is due to be washed or it's due to be cleaned inside, you wipe it down and it'll take away those few fingerprints that you may have. But it's never been something that stands out that's an issue that I feel embarrassed about when people are in the car. Nothing shows. There really is no issue. So please consider that. One of the comments that I saw from somebody who did a review, they said, these headrests and all these pillows, they get dirty, they get all greasy and everything. First of all, I think people who own these cars can keep their hair clean. I mean, seriously. The other thing is, if you don't like it, for some reason, it's just a Velcro, it comes right off. So if you prefer a finish like this, then that's fine. You don't have to put it on. And to put it back on just takes 2 seconds. So I don't know why people are complaining, it's gonna get all dirty. And second thing is, I've washed these because actually somebody touched it with their hand, got it dirty. Just take it away, take some dish soap and a white rag and just brush it. It'll come like new, because of course the material in this car is excellent. So anything can be cleaned, anything can be fixed very, very fast. If you wanted to, you could probably soak it, which would need to be, I don't know why you'd need to do it at that point. But if you just want to clean it, just take a rag with some dish soap or some shampoo, just suds it up, wipe it, and it'll come out like clean. Like, it's not a problem. So I don't know why people are complaining about that. One feature I'd like to talk to you about also for this car is it comes with a gesture control. In other words, if the lights, for example, it's dark and you reach out to the seat next to you, then the light here will turn on automatically, the fact that you're reaching out here. Great feature, I love it. It's got features like that. The other feature that it has is to open the sunroof, you can just slide your hand like this. It'll open up the sunroof. If you just touch it, it'll open and pop up the sunroof, which is a nice feature. The thing is that some people have said, yeah, but how do you slide open the roof? You can't open the roof in this car. It doesn't work. There's no sliding roof. That's not true. It does have one and it's adjustable. To open the sunroof completely, you slide your finger completely to open it up. If you only want to open it partially, you slide your finger and you stop. And where you stop is how far the sunroof will open. So it's not true that there's no sunroof that opens. It does open, and it'll open to the degree you want it and how far you want it. Also in this car, so that you know, you can close, of course, the screen so that it closes so you have no sunlight in. And there's also one in the back of the car here, which is great. So to control the back, you touch it here, and to control the front, it's through the controls that are here. So as somebody once said, if all fails, read the instruction book. So for those who thought there is no sunroof that opens on this car, they're dead wrong. It does work, and it works very well. So now let's take a look at the back of the car. First, the door space is huge, as you can see. Other benefits that you have these intimacy screens, which can be brought up, brought down at the touch of a button. Lots of nice features. The whole back is very nice. And if you look, the seats, you have the comfort, you have the console. You can lift that up, the armrest. It has some nice benefits. Now with the controls here, you can actually incline the seats, move them forward, move them back, tilt them. So if you have a parent or a grandparent or somebody who needs that for whatever reason, their back situation, or to be a little more comfortable during the ride, you can adjust the seat position as you wish. It can be controlled. Let's look at it from this point of view now. So as I said, the armrest can be brought up, so you can have another passenger here. You can bring it down. The console also consists of an iPad sort of release key. The big benefit of this is you can control many of the things in the front. What I don't understand of Mercedes, why it just didn't dawn on them, is that although I can control some of the things from here, which is fine, you can control the seat from here, the angle, you can control the heat, the cooling of the seat, that's fine. But from the front, you can't control the heating or the cooling of the seat. So you're going to wonder, well, that's fine, somebody can just do it. Yeah, but sometimes you have guests in the car that have never been in these cars, have no idea how to operate this. So you're asking them to take the iPad, or you're asking them to adjust the seats. This iPad I can get where, you have to have some knowledge of using it. But just the buttons here, sometimes people say to me, well, can you bring down the heat in the car? And I have to say, no, I can't. And then they go, well, can you cool off the seat? No, I can't. And then my answer is, what do you expect for $170,000? I mean, seriously. So certain things I don't understand in the programming. So it's nice that you can do certain things, but some things you can't do from the front. The other thing I don't quite understand is there's no temperature control in the back here. So you have to go up to more or less like the limousine model where you get the big console and everything to be able to do that. But why? I mean, if you're going to have 4 people or 5 people, chances are in the back, maybe their feet are cold or they're a little warm, they're a little cool, you should be able to adjust it. And a car of this price should be able to at least adjust the temperature in the back. Another one of those mysteries I don't quite understand from Mercedes, why they did this. So in conclusion, I just want to recap about this car. So the features that I really would do without is the head-up display and the 3D. And one of the features I do miss is the rear wheel steer system. That would have been a great benefit. Sort of regret that I didn't get that on this car. And then the 6-cylinder I really enjoy. I have no problem with that car. I think the engine is really, really good. It's performance, it gives me everything that I need. And here in Canada, just so you see where I'm coming from, The price difference between the V8 engine and the 6-cylinder is $15,000. So this car, the way it's equipped now, is about $179,000. If I take the same car and I equip it with the V8 engine, same features, it's $191,000. If you want some performance, an S63 is roughly $225,000. So getting back to this car, the difference in price between the V8 and the 6 is pretty steep. I'd rather use the $15,000 to get some options that I prefer having in the car and enjoy the comfort. A lot of people say, yeah, but you have money, who cares, you know, $15,000 here, $15,000 there. I got news for you. People who generally have money to buy these type of cars are probably the cheapest as far as spending. Ever notice how, you know, they're looking for a really good deal on something? Because that's the way it is. I mean, we don't want to have to spend. Besides, when you buy a car, you have a number already in your mind of how much you're going to spend for that car. You know, you have your limit to what it's worth to you and how much you got to spend. So to me, this was what it was. I'd rather get more for my money than just the V8 engine. So that was my choice. As far as an overall car, I think it's great. As I said, the features and benefits of this car are really, really nice. The comfort is great. So I hope I've been able to answer a lot of questions that you haven't seen in the reviews from others. I hope I've been able to answer some of your concerns about what to choose on this car, what to avoid on this car. And hope you enjoy it. So if you've been shopping, good shopping and enjoy yourself, and hope you find the right car that you're looking for and has all the features you want. Take care.